Değerli katılımcılarımız, ikinci konuşmacımızı davet edeceğiz. Kendisi Hollanda'dan, Rotterdam şehrinden, ödüllü bir sosyal medya ajansı kurucusu, RAW kurucusu. Alkışlarla Maarten Reijgersberg'i davet ediyoruz.
Welcome. Thank you all for coming. My presentation is a bit stretched, just like me. I have someone to cope with because Thomas, of course, was really good. Got up with a bad start, but then nailed it at the end. So, when it comes to competing, I have someone to compete to. Always play against better players. So there he is. I'm Maarten. I'm from Universitesi. We're a social media agency from Rotterdam, and people say we're the best, so that's cool. It's all up to you to judge. What do we do? Does this work? Does this work? No, it doesn't work. Yay! We do actually everything a normal full-service agency does. So we do strategy, concept consulting, graphic design, photography, 3D. We make stuff, we make content, and we do that. We try to do that the best possible. Yeah, that works. I have to do the the signature move. Okay. We're kind of proud that we use both sides of our brain, the left side as well as the right side, so we're practical and creative at the same time. And I really wanted to rush through these slides because it's all about us, which is not that impressive. And clients choose us for, we have as well creativity as well as strategy under one roof. And a great network of specialists. And we organized Social Media Week in Rotterdam. That's where Raz and I got to know each other a bit better, and she invited me to speak here today, which is kind of cool. That works. Some of her clients, we work for the Dutch police force, so whenever you're in Rotterdam and you get a parking ticket, just call me. We work for the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for the municipality of Rotterdam, and furthermore, for a big bank in the Netherlands, Deloitte. We did the social media policy for Deloitte. And we work for Microsoft International. We did some motion graphics for them. Signature move. No signature move. Can somebody... Ah, yeah. And of course, we also have a preference of companies we like to work with. Well, the last bullet point is the most important one. Companies need to be awesome. And actually all these companies are awesome in their own way. But most of all, they should see social as an opportunity. And I don't know what it's like in Cyprus, but in the Netherlands, social media is still just marketing and communications. And my theory is that it should be much more than that. Social media is actually a layer over a company, over a university, where sooner or later everybody has to do something with. And connecting the data will get you so much more than just marketing communication. Yeah. So I'm here to start off with some social media statistics. And I'm starting up with a global and regional overview. And this is social media statistics from We Are Social by January 2016, so they're quite recent. And it changes a lot. So right now the total population on Earth is about 7.3 billion people. And 3.4 billion of those are actually internet users, of which are 2.3 billion social media users, bless you. And about 1.9 billion of those use social media on their phone. Who of you owns a desktop computer or a laptop? Who doesn't? This might be there are people. So you use internet just on your phone then?
Mainly on the phone, yeah.
Mainly, yeah. Okay. You see, mobile is really rising. The annual growth of internet users is up by 10% each year. And users, growth in number of active mobile social users is upping about 17%. So you see people are really moving towards mobile more than they stay on their desktop computers. So there's about 2.3 billion active social media users in the world today, of which 27% is the person which uses on mobile on the global population. And here's, oh, now it goes too fast. Okay, back one slide, yeah. So these are the percentages of social media use in the world, and mind this, it's the total active accounts on the top social network of each country. So they only, in this measurement, they only take the top social media accounts. So it might give a bit of a weird view, because there's actually people using more than one social media platform, and like I am, and like probably you are. So it's a bit of a skewed view on what's happening. This is interesting. Facebook is by far the biggest social media platform, and you see that messenger apps are always, are messenger apps social media platforms, or aren't they? I'm in doubt, because I do believe that WeChat is a full-grown social media platform, but it's counted to be a messenger or chat app, while WhatsApp for me isn't that social. You can work with groups, and you can do one-on-one conversations, but it's not like that you're sharing one-to-many. And what's also noticeable is that there are quite a few Chinese social media platforms like QQ, Qzone, WeChat, and Baidu. They are growing, and actually the growth of social media application in China is really boosting right now, especially on mobile. And like what we saw in Africa, skipped the landline part of internet. They just went straight to mobile. And what you see in China is they're skipping the desktop web shop. They go straight to web shop via mobile. So those are interesting things to look at if you're working on social and e-commerce here in Cyprus, because in the end, the Chinese are everywhere, and they're taking these apps where you can buy stuff via these apps, and that's actually the future. So if we look, well, if we look at the time spent on social media, the people from Turkey are above moderate. The Netherlands is that small that it's not in this graph. But I think we can compare ourselves with France or Germany. And in Japan, they just work 0.3. So, what's the landscape like in the Netherlands? Of course, Facebook is the biggest platform in the Netherlands. There are about 17 million people in the Netherlands, and 9.6 million of them have an account on Facebook. Snapchat is growing quite rapidly. How's Snapchat here in Cyprus? You all got a Snapchat account? Who doesn't have a Snapchat account? So that's less than half. Okay. Who of the Snapchat users is waiting for content of brands on Snapchat? None. Okay. It cost a brand about at least 500,000 euros to be on Snapchat with a single button. So Snapchat, I always compare Snapchat to Second Life, where all the brands were convinced they have to be active on Second Life, and then nobody actually was waiting for these brands. They do, however, were waiting for athletes, rock stars, because then you can have a good conversation on Snapchat. But for brands, my personal opinion is Snapchat is overrated. And of course you have users and you have daily users, and this is actually the stats that do matter. Because still 6.8 million people use Facebook every day in the Netherlands. And here you see LinkedIn is not that active daily. So, a few stats to get you where social is nowadays. It's booming, and it's here to stay. And we all learned how to share, and no matter what will happen, Facebook will eventually go away, but there will be another platform for sharing coming instead of Facebook. So, with Raw we try to dive into this landscape of social and sharing. And we do this by a 7-step social media activation plan. First of all, we do research. For a lot of companies we work with, and most of them are business-to-business companies, we start off with doing a survey within the employees of this company to see who is actually social savvy, and to see if there are any ideas on the social media activation of this company among the employees. We do the same thing with the clients of these companies, because most of the time the clients get great ideas on how a company should represent itself, or how not to represent itself. And sometimes the woman sitting behind the counter at the desk at the entrance of the company is way more social savvy than the woman on the marketing communications department, which is not that social anymore, who is really good in marketing communication, but not just that social. So maybe roles in a company should shift as well. Then we're off with a strategy. And my opinion is that you can't make a social media strategy for longer than a year or two. That's as long as it gets. Because things are changing so rapidly that you can't look forward longer than a year to see on which platform you should be acting, besides thinking of what you should share. And of course, design. I was taught to be an art director. I did a lot of corporate identity work. And my opinion is that the corporate identity of a company should be visible on a website, on a printing paper, but also on social. And that's where it doesn't really get good all the time, because there are logos which are made for social. To fit a very long logo in a square avatar, or that's a hard trick to do. And then we activate and we engage and we monitor all the times, and we adjust wherever we need or the content needs to be adjusted. You're thinking of a plan and put sticks, and you lever between those sticks, and you change course whenever needed. So you need to be very agile, and where in the past we could plan ahead and do a lot of stuff the same way over and over again, social you need to be agile with. Signature move. So traditionally we're used to do campaign marketing. So in March we do a big campaign, and then it drips into May, and then in June it's slow again, and then in August we boost the campaign, and then it drips to September, October, and December is another big boost. And then there's maybe I should put some zen into it. No, I'm not that zen. Yeah, there's go. And then there's always on marketing. And the ideal social media activation is a combination of campaign and always on marketing. Because campaigns are always good. It's always good to boost your marketing plan. But you need to be interesting all the time on social. It's not just in campaigning. Well, twice. There we go. So in the client communication, we use WhatsApp and Basecamp. Colors are a bit desaturated. Every one of you know Basecamp? It's a project management tool which we use to keep track of our time, and we use to keep track of the decisions we made and things we've done. And we love WhatsApp as well. We use a lot of WhatsApp in our client communication because as an external agency, we don't have as much market knowledge as the client itself. So we do social media content for our clients, but we keep in very close contact with our clients via WhatsApp. So whenever something happens inside the company, and we're an external agency, they just throw it into WhatsApp and we make beautiful content out of it and send it out. And of course we use monthly analytics. We use OB41 as a tool, which is a social media monitoring and engagement tool. But in the Netherlands we also have Custo, and of course you have Hootsuite, and there's so many of these tooling around, and some of which is better than others. And they keep competing with them with each other. So that was a bit of dry stuff. Now we're off to the cool stuff, because now I'm going to show you some campaigns. First of all, this used to be green. I'd like to show you a business-to-consumer campaign, which has a little bit to do with the stuff Thomas showed you. It's for Van Gils. Van Gils is a men's brand a men's fashion brand from the Netherlands. It's been around for quite some time, and they really revived. When I used to talk about Van Gils, people thought about their fathers and grandfathers with a double-breasted blazers with gold buttons. And when I say this, I kind of realize that double-breasted blazers are getting into fashion again, so that doesn't really count. But it was a really old-fashioned brand, and a few years ago, about 4 years ago, they really revived and put some new energy into the brand, which of course they also needed a social media campaign for. So our job, and here we went a bit too fast, go back. Yeah, our goal was to become an online thought leader on modern gentlemen, because that was what they want to tell the world, how to be a modern gentleman. So I should have worn a jacket, but it's too bloody hot. So the social media we deployed for Van Gils, and maybe it was a bit too much for the time we had working on this. We used Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. And actually, Instagram and Pinterest, back then, I'm talking about 2 years ago, weren't executed good enough because lack of time. And there weren't people in the company willing enough to really boost that. So that was the insight we gained after a year. The first thing we've done was to see if we can make brand ambassadors out of the employees of Van Gils, because that's the low-hanging fruit. Van Gils has about 150 employees, so it's not a very big company, but it's a very dedicated company. And within these employees, you have designers who travel all around the world, you have buyers who travel all around the world, and they really see beautiful stuff. They go to Marrakesh to buy cloth. They go to India to talk to cloth makers. And what we wanted is to activate these employees to give us raw content, which we could make into more beautiful content. So we started off with handing out social media cheat sheets, where we introduced the content manager. This is Niels, this is one of my colleagues, and he was in charge of the content of Van Gils. We told them, this is what Van Gils is going to do on social media, and this is why they're going to do it. And here you can find them on social media, and this is what you can do to help Van Gils being the best at social media and becoming a thought leader, a modern gentleman. It's just an A4 size paper which we handed around, which also could be a video or something else, but the idea is that you let the people know what you're doing on social, because they don't go there themselves. You need to guide them. Yes. What we also done was to use our social media signage, which is actually a view, an online, a screen, a dashboard with the social media content in the corporate identity of the company. So whenever you walked into a brand store of Van Gils, you could exactly see what Van Gils was doing online. And while you're in that brand store, you're most likely to like Van Gils or to share content. So it's good to confront people with content when they operate offline. What we've also done is to visualize content with Facebook milestones. So Van Gils is quite an old brand. It's from 1948. And that's something they have better than their competitor. Their competitor is quite a new brand, and they have history. And all brands want to have history, because you can build on history, at least when it's a good history. I'm not talking about Hugo Boss now. So we visualize this history into Facebook milestones. So we made a milestone about the birth of Van Gils. Yep. Can somebody click the space bar whenever I do this? Because this goes, yay! And there it is. The introduction of Van Gils menswear. Hey, that works. The introduction of Young, that was actually made quite famous by the Beatles. Everybody knows the Beatles? Yeah. Okay. I'm not that old. Okay.
We're not that young.
And of course, we've done told brand stories with branded content. And for us, it was important that. Perfect. Thank you. For us, it was important that you could see from miles away that it was content of Van Gils. In this case, we posted a quote of Pharrell Williams, which said something about style, which Van Gils wanted to connect to. This goes way better. Or a little quiz. You'll know how Facebook edge rank works. Very simple explanation. For instance, we connect on Facebook after this session. And you'll probably see my content for about 2 weeks. You see everything I post. If you never like this content, never share it, or don't comment, I'll go out of your timeline. You don't see my content anymore, because Facebook thinks, okay, we're friends, but we're not that good of friends, so you don't have to see everything of each other. It works the same with pages. If you like a page, you see everything of this page the first 2-3 weeks. When you don't interact with this content, the page content goes out of your timeline. And there's a way to trick that, and that's to go for interaction. So a post like this, choose left or right, makes people type left or type right in the comments of the post, which boosts the edge rank of the post. And of course, Facebook has a perfect solution and just pay Facebook for promotion. Because Mark Zuckerberg needs to make money. So. And of course, we have also posted some sales-related content. About 1/5 or 1/10% of all our content was sales-driven. But we do have to remember that Facebook is not a sales channel. It's to get close to the brand, to get to know the brand better, to get top of mind, but not to do actual sales. And we did a Facebook photo contest to activate the super promoters. So for instance, men had to make a picture of themselves dressed as a modern gentleman, and when they got the most votes, they would get a 50% discount for a whole year, which was kind of a cool price. And then Thomas' job came in. Van Gaal sponsored the Dutch national soccer team, and I still think that they took that decision a bit too rapidly, because there was no marketing manager at the time, which is kind of weird. So the CEO was in charge of marketing, and that had some challenges. You might have seen the video they've done. Can you boost the sound?
With the Van Gaal suit and the lion as the Netherlands national symbol, the Dutch national football team is always in style. Dressed like heroes.
Now it's time to play some football, you pussy.
If you have the line on your side, you have nothing to fear.
Van Gils, trots supplier van de KNVB en supporter van Wilde Leeuwen. Shop de KNVB-collectie in een van de winkels of op vangils.eu.
So there's no CGI, it's all real. This is Kevin Richardson, which is the lion whisperer from South Africa. And it was a beautiful campaign, but done by a very good agency in Amsterdam, but also a very traditional agency. Because we got to know about this campaign when it was already shot. So there was no chance for us to put in some social concepting into this campaign material. So what we got was one video and about 8 photographs, which is more than enough for a traditional campaign in magazines and on television. But you're coming up short if you have to use this material for social. And then the Netherlands stayed in the race for a bit more longer than expected. They stayed in the race for 2 months, so it was, yeah, we're kind of helpless. We had this picture and what to do with it. So, preferably, we would set with the agency who done the material, thought of a social content and shot the social content straight with this A-brand content. But we didn't get that chance, so we had to hack our way into social, and we did some Photoshop work and great copy. Hasta la vista, baby. Or it takes 22 to tango instead of 2 to tango. And it's not what we're really proud of, because it's kind of cheesy content, but it worked. And it worked because it was with respect to the other party, the other team. And it worked because people were already expecting the next post. So this was our way to reuse content in kind of a funny manner. But it also pointed out that if you want to do a good social campaign, the agency, the social agency, and the client really should work together to get great content, and not like traditionally is done. Yeah, let's do something with social as well when the campaign is already shot. The results, however, were quite good. I also gave this presentation in China, where I learned that I shouldn't use exact numbers, because 125,000 fans is like one borough in Beijing, so it doesn't make a real impact. A rise of 1700%, however, does make impact. We had very little promo budget for Facebook. Instagram grew quite rapidly, And of course, the video did very well on YouTube. And there we also learned that you're not the owner of the material as soon as you put it online, because it was on our YouTube channel, and we got about 95–100% growth in subscribers on that YouTube channel. But all of a sudden it was also on an American hip-hop channel. They just ripped it and put it up there, and there's nothing you can do about that, which is actually good as long as it still links to Van Gils. So the exact view is way higher than the 3.5 million you see here. So this is one example of a business-to-consumer case. I would like to show another business-to-business campaign example, what we've done for Start People, which is a job agency in the Netherlands. It was a very short, lean and mean campaign. They came to us with the following question: find us 15 forklift drivers for Coca-Cola in the region of Brabant, which is a very small region in the Netherlands, which is not that big either. So we told them, okay, we're going to do so, and we're going to use Facebook for that. And first of all, on Sunday, we're going to post a teaser. And it just said, we're looking, and then work happiness, which was the hashtag of Coca-Cola. But Coca-Cola is nowhere mentioned by the brand. So we said, if you want to keep up with this campaign, keep following this campaign or this page, we'll tell you all about it tomorrow. And people start reacting, oh, of course it's Coca-Cola. People were already making rumors around this, this ad. Then the next day, we came up with this short video. And this video has had a direct link to the campaign page, and there's where we failed, because the webpage of Start People isn't mobile ready yet, and this is obviously too much text for mobile. About 95% of viewers viewed this campaign via mobile. So it was a very lean and mean campaign. The run-through was about 2 weeks, which is way too short to change the website of Start People into a mobile-friendly website. But it was a big learning for Start People that they really should make an effort of making their website mobile-friendly. Or, in this case, it might have been better to use a campaign page as a redirect. Nevertheless, the results were quite good. The video had about 25,000 potential reach within 24 hours, and the video is still on the Facebook page of Start People. So, besides they were looking for forklift drivers, it's also a big hug of Start People to their client Coca-Cola. And by promoting this video on Facebook, it gave us the chance to just push this video to the people living in the region of Brabant, because a forklift driver job is not really a job where you would move from another province to Brabant to. So we used really direct targeting for the video ad. Then there's this government to citizen campaign example. We work for the city of Rotterdam, the municipality of Rotterdam, and especially Rotterdam city center. And the Rotterdam city center has a city center strategy, which is a strategy for 10 years, which is quite a long time. And now the first 5 years have passed, and it's going quite well with Rotterdam. And one of the key elements of the strategy is that they want to make the city center into a city lounge. The idea is that they want the people to spend more time in the city center, because if they spend more time in the city center during shopping, they will spend more money, and the city will profit from that. So we had a goal to reach the Rotterdam city promoters, which of course every city wants to do, because there's always these entrepreneurs, these special people with a big audience, which always do slightly different than the city prefers, but you want to connect with as a city, because they make the city what it is. And it's very hard for city governments to reach out to these people. We also wanted to have feedback from citizens and of course celebrate, because the first 5 years have been good to us. So we're deploying Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And one of the key features we do is to upcycle content. Because it's a city. There's already so much content on this city or about this city that you don't have to make a lot of owned content. So for example, there's this cool video of Heineken, a beer brand, which we shared from the Facebook page of Heineken, which gave us more exposure and a like by Heineken itself. But we also dive into Instagram and we search Instagram for cool pictures of Rotterdam. And this is probably only Thomas gets this joke. But the PC Hoofdstraat is a very expensive street in Amsterdam. And of course there's always a bit of competition between Amsterdam and Rotterdam in the Netherlands. So we're like, well, we have a Hoofdstraat, let's make it a PC Hoofdstraat. Never try to explain a joke. The idea is that we go into Instagram and ask the Instagram people if we can share their content, their Instagram content on Facebook. And most of the time they're okay with that. And we mention their name and everybody is cool. Then in August, 26th of August, and you can't see it really well, but this is not Photoshop. The whole city sky turned pink. It was an incredible atmospherical phenomenon. No idea what was happening, but all of a sudden in our searches we saw all these pink sky pictures popping up. And it's kind of weird if you work with the city and you do the city Facebook page, that you don't do anything with this content. So we told the people, have you seen it? This pink sky? Come on, give us your pictures. And this was actually the most popular post of 2015, and people kept sending in their pictures of the pink sky. And the city really connected with what was happening in the city at that moment.
Was it an expensive pink sky?
Sorry?
Was it expensive pink sky?
Well, it took us a few chemical... we decided not to talk about that anymore. We also done a photo contest. Because we still have this city lounge. And what is a city lounge? So we asked the people of Rotterdam to make a picture of their favorite lounging spot in the city. And they came up with all these beautiful pictures, and this guy won. And his picture was set up on this very big screen in front of Central Station. And he got an overnight at a luxurious hotel. But what we also noticed is that people weren't just standing in pictures of lounging spots like this, but also aerial pictures of the River Maas. And it was kind of weird, because the assignment was make a picture of your favorite lounging spot, not your most beautiful picture of Rotterdam. So we told the government that, hey, you should do something with this, because people have a strong connection to this river, and there isn't that much to do at the river. So why not show what you're doing to make this riverside better than it is? And so we did. This is the riverside in 2009. It's concrete, nobody's sitting there. And this is supposed to be green grass in 2014. And actually people are making use of the riverside. So as a municipality, you have to show what you're doing. You have to direct the people to what is there and what you're doing. And then simple stuff, like this is an account which hasn't a lot of budget. So good content costs budget normally, but we try to get as much content out of the fans, out of the people. So with Valentine's Day, we asked the people, send us a picture of your favorite love spot in Rotterdam, and they did. So we made a collage of all these cool pictures of people's favorite spots in the city. And because we post all this cool content, we can be serious once in a while. This is an example for a get-together for entrepreneurs, which normally, whenever the city was organizing events like this, there were, well, I call them the involved citizens, but normally there's about these guys of about 70 years old, grumpy, going there for the free coffee. And now they're really, still the grumpy guys come for the free coffee, but there's also these people who make the city, these super promoters coming to these offline events. So we're starting to see that what we do online actually has impact offline, which is quite cool. We see that in the results as well. This is an old post, because here we're celebrating that we're the most influential and most favorite Facebook page of governments in the Netherlands, with 50,000 fans. Now we're reaching the 20,000 fans within a few months. So, and that's all organic. We have very small promotional budget for this page, just by keeping in touch with what the people actually want to see, and using their content as well. These are the results. There was about 195 growth in page likes in the first month, with a minimum use of promo budget. I think it was about 300 euros. And this is one that's really interesting, the rejuvenation of the fan base. They went from 35 to 34 years old to 25 to 34 years old. That doesn't mean that all these people from 35 to 34 left the Facebook page. No, it's just that an incredible amount of people of 25 and 34 years old came extra. And of course, these are not numbers which you can compare to athletes with hundreds of thousands of fans. But for a city, it's kind of cool. There's also a high engagement score, the IPM score. It's 10 instead of an average of between 2 and 4. And we have about 25% organic reach by average, which is very high. There's a lot of sports brands who are jealous on this number. So I kind of rushed through it. If you have any questions, this is the time, but this is where you come up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can people hear me? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll get some questions later on, but I have a few questions about what you do in Rotterdam. When I went to your social media event, it was very interesting for me to see that you're doing campaigns for the police force.
Yeah.
So, why would police force need social media?
There's a lot of strong opinions on the police force, because you only see the excess what they do in the news. So for the police, it's a very good medium to show what they actually do. So in the Netherlands, there's a lot of police wearing body cams, and every now and then they post a video of their work on this famous weblog in the Netherlands, and that helps to get more sympathy for what the police actually does. So for them, that's a good way for their own PR. But it's also, like, Twitter is a very good tool to see what's happening, to see where fires are starting to burn, and to monitor all the time, so they can go there before it starts to become a big forest fire.
So rather than advertising, they want it for feedback, basically, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Do a lot of public offices require social media in Rotterdam
Yeah,
or in the Netherlands?
it was kind of funny because we always look up to the United States, and I was this February I was with a group of governmental officials to go to Social Media Week New York, and we were invited by the city of New York to talk with their social media team. It was kind of shocking. There were 3 millennials who weren't older than 25 who were in charge of the social media of the city of New York. And they were using TweetDeck as a tool. They didn't have the high-end monitor and engagement tools we're using in the Netherlands. And we're like, hey, this is a complete other work field than we're using. It's much more sending, like they have this big website where you can ask questions. That works really well. But the engagement, or like we did in the city of Rotterdam, like using content of the inhabitants of the city, it's not done at all over there. So we see that in business-to-business communication, America is way further than we are. They really know how to get return on investment on their social, but as it comes to governmental and social, I think in the Netherlands we're quite forward.
As a social media founder, do you think the content is winning over the brand? For example, you're getting consumer-generated adverts for the municipality, for the police force as feedback, and you're getting consumers' photographs and all of those things, so you can use them in social media campaigns. And I wanted to ask you, even with Coca-Cola, you didn't use the brand, but you generated an advert. So you think consumer-generated advert is winning over company-generated adverts?
The Coca-Cola ad was done with consent of Coca-Cola. So we did it in their corporate identity, but that would be a good discussion between me and Thomas, because I do believe that a brand owns the perfect content and it has to look really good, and user-generated content, well, doesn't look that good most of the time. And of course there's this tricky line between good, spontaneous content and well thought through, branded, slick looking content. And that's, I wouldn't say that user-generated good content is good for every brand. I do believe that there are some brands who shouldn't touch user-generated content because it breaks their brand.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions? Yes, please.
I'd like to thank you for the informative and entertaining presentation. First of all, I have an irrelevant question about the program you're using for the presentation.
Yeah.
It looks really good. What is the program you're using?
It's a Keynote from Apple. And you can make very ugly presentations with Keynote, but if you put a lot of time into it, it starts looking like that.
A specific membership or maybe?
No. It comes with an Apple computer. Go out and buy an Apple computer.
I do have it, but I'm not using Keynote. Now the real question. You've mentioned your experience with B2C and like B2B and government to citizen. Since we're at a stage where we want to choose our direction for the future, what do you recommend, or like which sect, or like which, like whether B2C or B2B or the government, which one of these parties can get you more profit, and which one of the experiences are more like you found more flexible and easier, like?
Okay, that all depends of the companies you work with. For instance, we didn't choose. We use business to consumer, we do business to business, and business to government, which might not be that smart because it's all about focus nowadays. But we just happen to like what we do, and we like that we can do so many different things and work in so many different areas, and we learn a lot from doing all these different things. And the good thing is that we work for a business to consumer brand. We take the learnings from the business to consumer brand and put it into motion in the government business to government blah blah brand. So we love this mixture. So, but if you do want to, if it's about money, well, I'm sad to say that there's still very little money in social. If you compare it to money into marketing communication, which percentage is spent on social content, it's nothing yet. We're not there yet. I do believe that it will grow, and it will grow quite rapidly. But if you want to make money, you better choose traditional media now.
All right, and as a student in PR and advertising, which area do you recommend for us to focus on that you think has more future, or like?
I think if you got all the time because you're a student now, but if you can work on finding a way to connect data to profit, social data to profit, you have a bright future ahead of you, because that's what people are really trying to figure out. How can we make this social conversation? In the end, it's all about money. So how can we make profit out of that? And the answer is somewhere in all this data, and not just the social data, but how can you connect the social data to more traditional data within the company? And how can you get the whole of the company behind what you're doing on social? And if you can manage that, and it takes a lot of experience and thinking through, and time will help you, then you're gonna make money.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Kan gewoon in het Nederlands, Thomas.
We don't have Dutch translation.
No. So, if you'd ask you for 3 brilliant pieces of advice for, let's just say, a university with students from 105 different countries, what would your 3 pieces of advice for a university be?
Well, the first piece of advice we learned at Social Media Week 2015 is to have the social media engagement done by students themselves. The second piece of advice is to get a good social media monitoring tool to sponsor you, because these students have to work with the best equipment there is. And the third piece of advice I would give is to have a good program for graduates, and have them come back every once in a while to tell their learnings to the students who are still here.
There they are.
Is that enough?
Thank you very much. Do you think conventional advertising will die in 10 years?
No, it will be a synergy. And I'm really against social or traditional. I do believe that offline and online should work together, like I showed with social media signage, and just that you put the hashtag over there, that works. That's offline. That's not online.
Do you know our hashtag, by the way? It's
you should, because it's here.
SMBW 2016. If you want to tweet or put it on Facebook.
So there. But I also believe that traditional agencies, social agencies, and everything in between should work more together, because you can get so much better content and campaigns done by working together and let people know what your goal is, than just being separate pillars working on their own strategy. So that, but there's still a long way to go.
Long way to go.
Yeah.
Maarten, thank you very much for accepting mine. Oh, we have a question, please. Oh, we have another question.
The issue is the implication is important in the campaign. So,
Can you use the microphone?
What you show our students for the traditional part and the social part has to integrate their content. But while you're talking about the efficiency and effectiveness of the campaign, you just concentrate on the numerical values. How many person likes it, retweets it. What about the perception issue? It's the thing that I want to ask.
Good question. For some clients, it's all about the numbers, and I can't change that. I can tell them there's way more behind those numbers. And fortunately, clients like the city of Rotterdam, they're not about the numbers. Of course, they're proud that they gained 20,000 fans where they started off with 4,000. They like that, but what they like even more is the effect of their social media activation on Facebook has on their offline gatherings. And there are actually coming different people to these gatherings than they were before they started off with working on social. So we try to make it and to show it that it's much more than just the numbers. But on the other hand, numbers are also quite good to have a conversation going. And that's why we always show the organic reach and the IPM scores, because that really says on how much impact you have on your fans. And just, we all know that you can buy fans. Let me tell one short story about the Van Gils. We got into trouble with Van Gils because they had 125,000 likes, and about 80% of that likes were from the northern part of Morocco, which is kind of weird because it's a Dutch fashion brand. They don't sell Van Gils in the northern part of Morocco, and in the northern part of Morocco there happen to be some click farms. So we got accused of buying likes. And I swear, with my hand on my heart, that I would never buy likes because it messes up your whole numbers and percentages. But they were so sure that we bought likes that they didn't pay their last bill. But what we do found out is that this lion whisperer, Kevin Richardson, happened to have a campaign for a Moroccan water brand 2 years before this campaign. So he has a lot of fans in the northern region of Africa. And like I told you, there wasn't a marketing manager at the time as we worked for Van Gils, which is kind of weird. But the CEO, he used to play with advertising. And it might be possible that he or somebody else didn't use the right targeting. So instead of targeting only the Dutch-speaking people around the world, he might have targeted everyone around the world. And then, if you have a spark in an area where there's a lot of fans, and Kevin Richardson is very well known, it might go quite rapidly. Or somebody else bought likes. I don't know. The only thing I know is that I didn't buy them. But it makes it complicated, and it also makes you ask, if you do a campaign for a company, who's responsible for the likes? And who should have access to the administrating tools of Facebook? There's a lot of trust involved, and as soon as this trust is gone, where are you going to start with saying it wasn't me?
Thank you. One last question, and then we're going to... Okay, I'll have 2 questions, and then we have to have a lunch break. We'll be coming back at 2 o'clock for Kuzey Kıbrıs Türksel presentation. So, Fırat Hocam, Ergeç Bey, then we'll close.
Again, thanks for the very nice presentation. My question is, do you believe that social media can bring 2 different communities together? You know, in Cyprus, we're on the verge of reuniting the island between Turks and Greeks. At least the politicians say that. So do you think that we can use social media to bring these 2 communities together and possibly encourage them to vote for yes in a possible referendum?
Would it be possible to get these different groups of people around the fire chanting songs? Yes? Then it's also possible via social media. And social media might be a good medium to get them more involved and more together. It's not social media, it's people. And if the people are willing for a united Cyprus, then social is a tool which can help, but it's not the solution.
And I think Amal will be able to give us an answer for that tomorrow. She used to work for United Nations, so maybe we can ask her the same question tomorrow.
Yeah.
And one last question.
Hi. I'm responsible of the websites at the university. So my question is that in that direction, not social media, but on the web. But it's still the branding image. You said that for the social media, not only let's say the company owners or the employees, but the users. So in our case, is the staff and the students should involve in the branding image of the university or the company. Do you think that the students and the staff, they all should participate to create the quality content on the web, so to increase the brand image? And it will also affect the social media, so you will have more content to share on the social media. Because you know that there's too much noise on the social media. One thing you share today, after 2 days, there's no way to find it out. I mean, nobody can see it within a couple of days, but on the web it's more permanent. I mean, it's always there. When you search it, you can find it. So
I do believe in quality over quantity. There's these brands right now who post a lot of material, a lot of content, and they show these numbers. Yeah, it works, but as long as you don't try to post 1 post a day or maybe 2 posts a week, you don't know how that compares with reach towards posting 5 posts a day. So I do believe in quality over quantity. And I'm not saying that everyone should help for social, because some people aren't that social or aren't that social savvy, and that's fine. I'm not as good at sports, so I'm not competing. But if you have some very eager content makers within your company or within your university, give them the stage. Let them make content, see how it works, and help them. Does that answer your question? It was quite a long question.
Yeah.
Yes,
We'll work on that maybe together.
my question was to the students and the staff. They should be involved to create content for the university, or not only just the staff. A couple of people should do the content creation, or the whole university should do.
I think there is already a lot of content, great content, who's not been seen now, where there's already here in the room students making so much content that it would be nice if the university would share that same content. So it's not about making the content, but finding the content and sharing it, embracing it.
Okay, thank you very much, Maarten, once again. I would like to present you. I'd like to invite Associate Professor Ümit İnatçı, our Dean, to present